Good afternoon, dear ladies and gentlemen. This is day 110 since Russian invasion of Ukraine, and this is the 9th year of Russian-Ukrainian war. My name is Andriy Shevchenko. On behalf of Media Center, I'm welcoming all journalists who share the truth about our fight for freedom. Our guest is Vadym Boichenko, mayor of Mariupol. Vadym, today is a special day for our city. 8 years ago, Mariupol was liberated from Russian occupants, Russian troops. Back then, Mariupol became the symbol of military victory and military honor. Later, it became the heart of Donetsk region, and it has been through a lot of events in 8 years' time. What feelings do you have today when you think about Mariupol that became the symbol of human tragedy and when the city is suffering from Russian occupation again? I'd like to express my words of gratitude. Back in 2013 and today in 2022, we not only have hope, but also we are confident that Ukrainian armed forces are going to do everything possible to win this war and to make sure that Mariupol remains Ukrainian city. We need time, and Mariupol will become Ukrainian territory again, and we will rebuild it and recuperate it. Back then, collaborator history that has the name DPR or LPR, so they wanted to spread this sheer lunacy and this propaganda in our city. We've been under this propaganda of DPR for a while. Fortunately, the citizens of our city did not support that propaganda, which was very important. The other component is that we were liberated by the armed forces of Ukraine. Back then and today, these collaboration troops and DPR troops bring nothing but pain, evil, and destruction. Back then, they were looting our city, they were stealing in our city, they were murdering and killing our people. Now, this is also done, but in the multiple scope. They destroy our lives, they destroy our people, they destroy our cities and our country. The city is almost totally devastated and destroyed. If you look at the local infrastructure, 2,600 buildings have been partially or totally burned to ashes. They killed more than twice as many people in Mariupol if we compare to what the fascists did in the Second World War. They steal our metal, they steal our grain. The metal products were manufactured for our partners, for European partners. It had to be shipped, but now it's appropriated by them, it's stolen. They steal things from the children's playground, they steal interactive boards, they steal plugs from ordinary apartments. We need to develop our country because we now live in the country named Ukraine. Ukraine is equal development. And in 8 years' time, Mariupol showed what development is. We rebuilt our city from ashes. We built the world of free democratic people. Thanks God and thanks people of Mariupol, we managed to rebuild our city after the first invasion. When we ask ourselves a question, why is it happening to us now? It's because we are fighting. We were fighting in 2014. But Russians, I believe that they just envy us. They envy the fact that this city was prospering, developing. It became part of the democratic European world. And these are not just the words. We have confirmation. The population grew by 30%. Another 120,000 people from other regions came to live to Mariupol. And our community became bigger by 120,000 people. So that was the sign of development, and they were scared because of that. I mean, the Russians. Therefore, they came to destroy our city and destroy our lives. What is the situation in Mariupol right now? Unfortunately, the situation is dire as of now. We are on the edge of humanitarian disaster and epidemic disaster. The situation is very, very serious because in our city there are a lot of mass graves, there are a lot of spontaneous graves, and some bodies are still on the street. The drainage doesn't work, sanitation is poor, there is no access to potable, clean water, there are outbreaks of infectious diseases. Doctors say that thousands of people might die in Mariupol because of diseases, because of infectious diseases. That's why we are trying to invite our partners to help us to create green corridors so that our people can leave Mariupol towards government-controlled territories. We know that the humanitarian component will be very limited from the 1st of June. In April, that was the only time when they allowed to distribute the packed food to people. They limit this possibility right now. They put tents and they say that we are going to celebrate a holiday today. What sort of holiday are you talking about? The holiday in a city that has been burned to ashes, where people died? They are talking about the life being booming and the life being recuperated. How can they say this? So they would put the metal container, which they call sauna. There are some tents where people can take shower. They distribute some humanitarian aid next to dead bodies, next to morgue. And this is the way Russia lives. The whole of Russia lives like that. So there are two exceptions, Moscow and St. Petersburg. But the rest of the country, this is how they live. Vadym, we have a question. Natalia Staroprava, Mediacentru Ukraine. What is the situation with evacuation of people? Can people get evacuated themselves? Are there any obstacles to add to that? Thank you. Thank you for your question. Just for you to understand that the city today, led by OPZZ party that occupied the city together with the Russian troops and their collaborators with the Russian Federation, they did not create any conditions for evacuation of citizens. Unfortunately, the level of outburst of infectious diseases is very serious. There is only one place where there is the so-called access to the sea. People have no possibility to attend to their everyday sanitary needs. There are a few citizens who were trying to get evacuated towards Ukrainian controlled territories. I know that some people are trying to get to Ukrainian government-controlled territories from the side of the cities nearby Mariupol, and they are receiving some assistance from Ukrainian state, and they get hope that Mariupol will be Ukrainian city again. Do we have questions?
How are you? Thank you so much. This is Yugo Hirano, Kyoto News Japan. I have one question. So, how about the current situation in your city? I want to know the daily life of your citizen. For example, shops are open or not, something.
The life of our citizens is the following. They need to go food hunting, water hunting, feed their family, and survive. Not live life, but survive. So this is the agenda of Ukrainian citizens as of today in Mariupol. The city is besieged. There is no possibility to leave the city. The city has been besieged, in occupation, in ghetto. I would call it a ghetto. And it has been besieged for a long time. More than 100,000 people are still living there. So they keep those people as terrorists. So the Russian troops are terrorists, keeping those people as hostages. The Russian Federation is a terrorist country. They behave like terrorists. Their modus operandi is like terrorist state. Any other questions? Thank you for your time. If we look at the situation we are facing right now, how can you compare those atrocities that are happening in the city? Can you compare it with the Nazi ghetto, Yugoslavian war, Syrian war? Is it possible to compare, or the situation is like totally unique and incomparable? It's a very good question. Thank you. If you can possibly imagine of what's happening in Ukraine, Mariupol is a unique and very sad experience. Unfortunately or fortunately, no other city worldwide has seen such atrocity. For 2 months in a row, Mariupol was under fire. The city was bombed and shelled. First, people would see one fighter, 2, 3, 5. Every half hour, they would drop bombs. And this was going on for months. The ship would approach the city and they would start opening fire on the city from the sea. There was one warship, then 2, 3, 4, and they were keeping the city under fire for months. 50% of the residential property was turned to ashes, and 22,000 people are believed to have died. But this is not the accurate statistics, because I believe 50 people, no less than 50 people, are still under the debris of each ruined building. If you multiply it by thousands of buildings that have been ruined, so we will get a totally different statistics, which is very scary statistics. But what I'm talking about, like 2200, so this is only official statistics, but the real statistics is really scary. If we take 1 or 2% of all those who died, these are children. So this is heartbreaking. My heart is bleeding when I see what's happening in Mariupol. People are trying to take shower in the tents. There is a metal trash can from where they take food, and they are trying to provide people some packed food. People are not living lives. People are surviving on daily basis. What can you compare it with? Maybe the fascists. There were 2 years of occupation between 1941 and 43, but the level of destruction and the level of murder and the number of people who died is not comparable. Putin is living evil. He did not only cause destruction to our city, he caused destruction to us as the country, as the nation. This is genocide. This is not the special operation to liberate Ukrainians, because you have to understand, every second citizen of Mariupol was born in Russian Federation. This is Russian-speaking region of Ukraine, but it did not stop Putin and his troops. He kept killing people. He kept humiliating our people. So this is Dresden, Warsaw, Gdansk, Köln. So these are the cities that Hitler destroyed, but the destruction is not even comparable to what is happening in Mariupol. I'd like to add that according to international conventions, the country occupant country also is responsible for providing medical supplies, food, and basic needs of the population on the occupied territories. Russia is not meeting those needs, thus they are violating international conventions and international legislation. Vadym, my last question for you will be about 2014. When you remember liberation of Mariupol from Russian troops back in 2014, what is the most memorable moment for you? What did you feel then when you learned that the city was deoccupied? On that day, I was next to drama theater, sadly known drama theater. It became the symbol of our liberation movement, this drama theater, because they also were trying to attack Mariupol. And I am looking forward to another day when our city will be deoccupied again. The first time it was deoccupied during the Second World War, then in 2014, and I hope that it's going to happen soon. And this deoccupation happened in December, January, and we remember the attack on this drama theater, and we remember how they were trying to get rid of DPR troops. That was the holiday of Mariupol that stood proud and stood strong. Back then and today, we say glory to Ukraine, glory to armed forces, and glory to our soldiers and warriors. And this day will definitely come soon, be it December, be it January, but we will deoccupy our city and we will rebuild this city. This will become the best city in Europe, I'm sure. Our guest was Vadym Boichenko, mayor of Mariupol, the city that is celebrating 8th anniversary of deoccupation from the Russian forces in 2014. Thank you, Vadym, for being with us. That's the end of our program for today. Please follow our